Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
There's been some news about Mombasa on the coast of Kenya. Find out what it is and why you should visit the country. That's all coming up on the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Hello and welcome to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. As always, the end of the show will have travel news with some travel news stories from the week I think will be of interest to you. But I'm going to start with some travel news, and that's that the Foreign and Commonwealth Office has relaxed their travel restrictions to Mombasa in Kenya. I've been wanting to feature Kenya on my show for a while. I last had it in August 2013, so it's been a few years. And the reason I haven't been doing it again is because of the travel advisories. It seemed weird to promote a country where the Foreign and Commonwealth Office are telling people to be very careful because of security risks. But this week, the FCO, Foreign and Commonwealth Office, has actually relaxed travel restrictions to part of Kenya. And Kenya is one of my favourite places in the world to visit. Been there a couple of times. I'm not sure whether it's the country or the people that made the trip so great, but I had a great time with the hotel staff both years. And I broke a rule about going back to a hotel I've been to before because I had such a great time with the team who worked there, the waiters and kitchen staff. So as my recommendation for this week, if you're going away, try and meet the locals, try and meet the staff, go out, have a good time. They show you everywhere that's cheap and affordable, and we had a great time anyway. But back to the FCO, they removed the travel advisory which advised against all but essential travel to Mombasa and the stretch of the Kenya coast from Watamu to the border of Tanzania, which include Mombasa Island. And of course, the Kenya Tourist Board has welcomed the decision for this because obviously they need the tourism trade. The spokesperson for the Kenya Tourism Board said, while our operators have continued to send their guests to the southern areas of the coast, including Diani, Wazani and somewhere I can't pronounce this, Masabaweni, we look forward to welcoming guests back to Mombasa and the beautiful coastlines of Watamu and Kifili. Phyllis Candy, who's the Cabinet Secretary for East African Affairs Committee and Tourism, said the decision was timely and went on to say that this is a huge endorsement to our recovery efforts and we look forward to working together with our stakeholders to turn the sector around. And she did appeal for other countries other than the UK to follow suit and to relax their travel restrictions. The area north of Mombasa was added to the advisory zone in March of 2015 because of the continued terrorism threat. And the coastal stretch south of Mombasa to the Tanzanian border, including Ukadana Airport, has remained open. And last year, despite all the worries about visiting the country, there was 117,201 visitors from the UK. So back to this week's show. The feature, as I've said, is on Kenya. I spoke to Angie Sloan back in 2013 about the country. She was from the UK-Kenya Tourist Office. We're going to find out all we need to know about visiting this great place, where it is, what you can see and do. And that's enough of me waffling. Let's get right onto it. I'm sure everybody knows, but whereabouts is Kenya?
Well, Kenya's in the heart of East Africa, bordering the Indian Ocean coastline. The equator runs right through the middle of Kenya. So if you're in northern Kenya, north of the equator and south of the equator. And it's a big country. It's around about the same size as France, just over 200,000 square miles.
Okay, so it's fair size then.
Yeah.
But I think when people think of Kenya, they just come up with vast open plains. Is that basically all Kenya is?
In some of the national parks, we've got such incredible plains that you can see animals for miles. It really is stunning. But actually, Kenya is so interesting because there is such a diversity of landscape. We've got Mount Kenya, which is the second highest mountain in Africa, standing at over 5,000 metres. There's amazing, lush, beautiful forests in the Aberdare mountain range. We've got 300 miles of Indian Ocean, white sandy coastline, and we've got an awful lot of lakes as well that a lot of people don't know so much about. Some beautiful lakes in Nakuru, and up in the north, Lake Victoria, which I think is quite well known. So, it is very diverse landscape.
The Great Rift Valley gets mentioned a lot. What is that?
Yeah, it's a great. It really is so dramatic. It's an enormous trench that runs all the way through Kenya and some of the neighbouring countries from north to south. It's around just over 3,500 miles in length, and there's a lot of lakes which are dotted through the valley as well. But the scenery there really is hugely dramatic. It's absolutely stunning. And actually, if you play golf in the Great Rift Valley, they say the ball goes further.
Goes well.
Yeah.
Oh, I better get it 12 inches now then. I'm not very good at golf. The balls are too small and the sticks are too short. And the holes are too far away. You've gone all the different variations of the geography. What's the climate like? Does it vary massively?
Well, because we have the equator running through Kenya, it is actually in the highlands. There's little variation. We have a wet season or two wet seasons. The month of May is what we call our long rains, and then the month of November are the slightly shorter rains. But to be honest, I mean, look, we all know the world's weather's changed so much. You could be down on the coast in May and have hardly any rain. So it is variable, but those are the two sort of slightly damper months. Down on the coast, the temperature is warmer than it is inland. Nairobi, for example, is 1,600 metres above sea level, so it's always it's a wonderful city because it's very cool and fresh. And down on the coast, it is a bit warmer, but it's a lovely temperature. It is really lovely. You know, they have a lot more consistency of good weather than we certainly do here.
Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Coming up, we've got Eric and Ernie.
Join me here on Seclo Sounds.
In your smile.
It's from 1975, Eric and Ernie were
Gary, it's not Eric and Ernie, it's Earl and Ernie, the Cape Brothers, Union Man.
Oh, I see. Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Earl and Ernie.
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Still to come, travel news, including a statement from the police in Cyprus about the attempted child snatching story you may have come across in the press in the last few days. But at the moment, I'm speaking to Angie Sloan. She's from the UK Kenya Tourist Office. I'm featuring Kenya this week because the Foreign and Commonwealth Office have relaxed their travel restrictions to parts of Kenya. We're now going to find out how easy it is to get around the country. I have travelled in the local minibuses, and if you've ever been to Kenya, you know what I mean. If you haven't been, these are minibuses, maybe 9, 12-seaters, and you can have up to 20 people in there. It's very cramped, but I enjoyed it. It can be dangerous, but anyway, I'm installed in one piece. But now Angie's going to tell us how easy it is to get around Kenya.
Well, as I said at the beginning, Kenya is a big country, about the size of France, and we have some brilliant internal airlines, and all of the national parks are connected with airstrips to Nairobi, and there are frequent flights down to the coast. A lot of UK visitors or visitors in general who go to Kenya, because they're visiting several places at the same time, people will either choose to do a driving tour of Kenya or a flying trip. So the jeeps that are provided now are very comfortable. Some of the driving times between places can be a few hours. So you can have got a choice really of driving or flying, but it is very easy.
How about travelling at night? Is it safe to do that?
Well, most of the national parks close around 6 o'clock, so you tend to find that when you're out on safari, you'll be back in the camps sort of just after 6. In the cities, look, to be honest, I say it's like anywhere. You have to be vigilant in capital cities. I personally, when I'm there, I'll go around at night by taxis that the hotel where I'm staying has organised for me. But it's common sense. It's like any big city in the world. Of course, you're in Kenya. You need to be vigilant, but equally there are parts of London you need to be vigilant as well, aren't there?
I've been there a couple of times, and I've been to Mombasa.
Right.
And I've been to places where there's no tourists, and I didn't feel threatened or have any problems whatsoever. I was with one of the waiters from the hotels, which is why I was wandering around this strange place.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem a problem, so I think you just have to be careful. And
yeah, and I mean, you keep your wits around you, but the Kenyan people, that's one of the things that is so unique about Kenya is the people are so friendly. And they're really happy to engage with foreign people as well. So, yeah, it's a good way. If you can find a local to show you around, that's great.
Yeah, we had a few heavy nights, let's put it that way. I managed to represent the hotel and the football team as well, because they knew if they had me playing, the hotel management would get a bus for everybody to get to the game. So I was there to make life easier for them, but it was good fun. Talking of transport, I've been in, is it Matatus?
Yeah.
When I was with the guys from the hotel, went in a few of those. But I never advise somebody to use one when they come to me for advice. Am I being overcautious, or are they a good way of getting around?
They're really they're very, very popular and very, very popular with Kenyans, and it's very much the Matatus are very much part of the Kenyan culture. They've got set routes which go throughout Kenya, and they do collect as many people as possible along the way. So they can be extremely crowded and very hot. It's probably more comfortable for people to take taxis, but at the same time, if they want to experience a Matatu, then people will do that as well. So yeah, but they can get very, very overcrowded. There isn't such a strong license to the amount of people they can carry like we have with buses in Europe, so to speak.
Yeah, the last one I was in, I was stuck in the back. I couldn't see out the windows because I was surrounded, and people were hanging on the door ledge.
See, it is the beauty of Africa that you can do things like that. So some people want to do it. Taxis might be a little bit more comfortable if you're going a long way, certainly.
Yeah. I had a taxi run out of petrol on me once, and you're in the middle of nowhere watching a taxi driver run off to get some petrol from somewhere to come back to take you back where you're going. So it's all part of the experience. That's why I love the country.
Yeah.
You mentioned about Nairobi and the height of it, because when we got off the plane once, we were surprised how cold we were when we got off.
Yeah.
But what does Nairobi actually have to offer the visitor?
I love Nairobi, and I think a lot of the visits that I do to Kenya are only a 3-day break, and the fact that the time difference is only 2 or 3 hours in front of the UK, I think you can do Nairobi for a long weekend. There's so many different things to do. There's some amazing wildlife parks where you can get up close and personal to baby elephants that have been rescued at the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, which is absolutely fantastic. The stories about these little baby elephants and how they've been rescued, whether it could be, a mother has been mother elephant's been washed away in a storm and left these little orphaned elephants. So they're reared in Nairobi, and then they're taken back to the wildlife when they went to the wild when they reach a certain age. So that's an amazing thing to go and see. We've got some brilliant museums: the National Museum of Nairobi and the Karen Blixen Museum. Some brilliant markets, Maasai markets, Kazuri bead factory, and then one place that's really fascinating. We have 50 different tribes in Kenya, and there's a place in Nairobi called the Bomas of Kenya where you can go and visitors can go and learn about all the different types of cultures. So there's an awful lot to see. It's a lovely city to be based in. The climate's very nice. It can be cooler, but as soon as the sun comes out, it can be warm. I think the Kenyan people, they do say that they get quite cold, and I say, well, what's the temperature? It's 21 degrees, which of course we'd be delighted with, wouldn't we?
We would be.
Yeah.
I had a client go to Nairobi for a business conference, and he went a few days early so he could do a safari because it's all nice and close, so it's a good location. And I think I'll have to try that weekend break idea of yours.
Well, the thing is we call it bed and breakfast travel because you come into Nairobi normally on an overnight flight from London, arrive there first thing in the morning. So then you don't lose a day flying.
This is Seklo Sounds. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for 1 hour in the company of Harry and Edna on the wireless.